Welcome back, foamers, foamettes, and foamdems. Today, we're gonna do something a little special. We're gonna play a game called Buff, Nerf, or Stay. It sounds exactly like what it is. We're gonna go through every single character and we're gonna discuss should they be buffed, nerfed, or left the same. Season 2 is right around the corner, so this is a great video to make because I wanna see, are they really gonna change any characters for the better? Or not. Don't be afraid, you can play too. Let me know your comments down below on what characters you think should be buffed, nerfed, or left the same. I would love to read them. Now, of course, you guys know when I have longer videos, I have timestamps down below for you guys. I respect your time and I respect you as a person. So feel free to hop around to your favorite character, but I mean, hey, if you don't want to and you want to watch the whole entire video, grab your snacks because we're about to go in on all these characters. The first character that we have is Soa. So let's just start from the beginning, her basic attack. So Soa's basic attack is pretty much straightforward. She shoots, I believe, 30 bubbles and you only need 7 to chill somebody. So do that math. That's a lot of, you can whiff a lot is what I'm saying. Now, with that in mind, I don't think it's particularly OP. I don't think it needs a nerf or a change. I think it's fine. When we're talking about her reload speed, now hers is on the higher end of the spectrum. If you didn't know, not every single character has the same reload speed. Jet's is one of the slowest and Soa's is one of the fastest. So kind of keep that in mind when we're thinking about how Soa plays and her reload time and whatnot. So with that in mind, I don't think any of that needs to be adjusted. Let's talk about her first ability, which is the jump leap ability. So when we talk about this, it's pretty strong. It's pretty strong. It gives Soa a lot of survivability that no other character has, and it's very hard for any character to deal with Soa because no character is technically designed to shoot in the air other than Mel T. But honestly, Mel T should be missing all of it because Mel T's missiles don't go that fast. She should be able to just kind of like move out of it. So there's no counterplay to this ability whatsoever. Now, if we add the fact in that it has 2 charges, it makes for some nasty gameplay. What I suggest, and I'm gonna start with the most controversial suggestion because you guys are probably gonna hate that one the most, Soa players. But what I suggest to fix Soa would be to simply make it so that when she rolls or jumps, she doesn't shoot. All she does is roll and jump in the air. She can't hurt you. This would mean if she decides to shoot you with these 30 shots, plus do this, you're not getting pelted by a whole bunch of bubbles that you really can't avoid. You're just gonna have to deal with Soa bouncing around all over the place. And she could still keep her 2 charges. I don't really like that though. I really think she just needs 1 charge. I don't think this character needs 2 charges. The other thing that I suggest is making it so that her hop costs liquid. If it costs liquid, it makes it a lot more important for the player to time it correctly. I think it should cost half liquid. So let's just say I was shooting, doing my thing, and then I wanna jump. Well, now I'm out of liquid, and either I'm gonna have to start sliding around and getting away or getting in, you know, while my liquid comes back, or I'm gonna have to just reload right there on the spot. This allows players on the opposing team to have some counterplay to Soa. That's the name of the game. Things aren't usually broken until there is no counterplay. There is no counterplay to this character right now, and that is one of the major issues with this character. Having only 1 stock and having it only have 1 stock and having the liquid be taken away when you do your jump would make Soa a lot more manageable. Let's talk about the next ability, which is her grenade. In my personal opinion, the grenade should take longer to explode, not by a lot, by just a little bit, because it's very hard to get out of this if you are dead smack in the middle and she throws it right where you're standing. The other thing they could do is remove lower the radius of the ability. Soa's grenade is like the only one in the game that has this range that you can't counterplay. If we're thinking about the range of Rave Breakers, it's massive, but you can break the mines that he puts down. If we think about Tonix, it's pretty big, but you can shoot Tonix's grenade or just run away from it. Like, it doesn't really proc. And so there's a lot of counterplay to a lot of the other characters, but Soa. And that's one of the main issues about Soa. So when it comes to that, I think that's what needs to be adjusted. And then let's talk about her ultimate, which is one of the most like controversial things in the game, I think right now. With her ultimate, she can become invincible, and she can also knock characters backwards or forwards or in any random direction, honestly. So with that in mind, let's discuss the knockback first. So I don't think Soa's ability should allow you to knock back. That's a little ridiculous. And honestly, if you add knockback onto your gems, it actually knocks them back further. On top of that, if you put movement speed on your gems, it actually gives you more movement speed in that ultimate. So again, you're starting to eliminate all of the counterplay. Another issue with this is a lot of these maps have places where you can fall off. So simply speaking, especially in things like Happy Bath Survival or that casino map for Smash Star, you're just getting knocked off the map. Like there's really nothing you can do. Heaven forbid the ring closes in on the entire team and she's about to die, and then she just ults and knocks everybody outside the ring and gets a free win. Like there's literally no counterplay to this character. Now I am a Party Legend player. I know how to deal with Soa, but that doesn't mean there's counterplay to this character. It just means I have to work harder to deal with her, and I don't think that should be it. A lot of developers that make games don't want their characters to be anti-fun to go against, because that means people will stop playing their game. There needs to be a balance, and I do not think buffing every single character is going to fix the game. It's just going to make everything unbalanced, and it's not going to be a good competitive game overall. So we do need to make sure that there's a flat line of balance. We need to kind of bring Soa down to that level. Now, when we're talking about the knockback, I want to say one more thing. She shouldn't be able to stun lock you. If she puts you somewhere, you're stun locked. The way we can remedy this is by making it so every subsequent knockback that she does, like the value of how far it goes is, you know, reduced drastically. So if she hits you back once, maybe keep it the same distance, whatever. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. She knocks you back again, it's a little bit lower. Knocks you back again. Eventually, you just don't go anywhere. You are still going to be stunned, but you don't go anywhere. As far as the stun lock goes, you shouldn't really be able to just have a Soa sit on top of you and you can't move. So there's a lot of issues with that thing. I think to remedy it, just make it so that you're stunned, but you're not shoved back and you are able to move. Or make it so that you are shoved back and at least you're not stun locked. You know, give somebody tenacity, make it so that they aren't going to be stunned back for a period of seconds, maybe like 2 or 3 seconds, to give them some time to get away from the character. Especially when she has movement speed, it's very hard to do so. So giving them that breathing room to actually run away and not instantly get up to get stunned again would be huge. Now, that's just the knockback. We need to talk about the invincibility aspect of it. So realistically speaking, I don't think any character in this game should have invincibility. This is not one of those games, and that should be rectified instantly. I do think it should be a barrier. Big difference. Now you could say, Poppin', when you shoot it, it expires quicker. That's true, but I mean, that doesn't fix the problem. If it's a barrier, this means that when Soa gets shot, the barrier explodes. This means that it doesn't launch her in the air, effectively giving her a third charge of the ability that allows her to jump. And she just kind of like runs and then it just like goes away and she stops. Or keep her in ultimate form, but just no barrier. And then she's just running like this with no weapon because she decided to run straight in there and, you know, just basically run at an opponent. You should be punished. So there's a lot to this character, but I would really like to see the ultimate adjusted in some way, making it so that she can't get knocked, making it so that you can't knock back someone several times, you can't stun lock someone several times. It's not so easy to use, it's not so impactful. It's not making her invincible. Like there's a lot of problems with that ultimate, and whenever I play against a Soa, I really just don't have fun, and especially when the circle starts to close or something like that, it's just not fun to go against her. So I really hope they do something about it. So that's pretty much where I stand on that one. So just kind of a brief recap. When we're talking about Soa, when we're talking about her jump, it needs to be adjusted in some way. Maybe take away one stock and make it cost liquid. When we're talking about her bomb, reduce the size or make it, you know, last a little bit longer on the ground before it explodes. And when we're talking about her ultimate, the invincibility thing definitely needs to be adjusted. The duration needs to be adjusted. The knockback needs to be, something needs to be adjusted, because right now she pretty much just get free wins, which is why you usually have one on a team no matter what. She is very strong right now and she definitely needs a nerf, a kick in the butt. She does. No, she does. I also forgot to mention this as I was recording. When Soa does her leap, her L1, she has invincibility frames. This means even if you shoot her, she will not be hurt at all. So combine the invincibility frames on top of the mobility, on top of the ult, just combine all that together. She is a force to be reckoned with. The next character we're gonna talk about is Agito. So his regular shots look like this. Pretty cut and dry, pretty self-explanatory. He has 8 shots. Now, in order for Agito to chill you, he needs to land 2 shots close up, or however many it takes far away. He doesn't do any damage. There's a long, there's a big fall off in damage when you are a distance away from the target. So you really gotta be up close. What I think is that they should reduce the amount of damage he does up close, and basically instead of 2 shots, make it 2.5. This means that if I come up on you as an Agito player and I miss, it's okay, I still did some damage on you, and then I shoot you 2 times and you're done. Or I shoot you 2 times, right, but you're not done, but if I still manage to clip you with the last shot, you're chilled. This is something that would help a lot of newer players and even a lot of experienced players that might not have great reaction time be able to avoid Agito. Right now the counterplay is to just not be next to him, which I don't think is bad. I actually don't think that he's really like strong in that regard, but this is just kind of to help him mellow out for the rest of the players that are playing this game. For someone who's reached Party Legend, Agito's not really like, it's easy to understand how to deal with them. But again, not everybody's a hardcore gamer, not everybody's a Party Legend gamer. Making this kind of nerfed a little bit would make it so that not only does it give the opponent time to counterplay, but it also gives Agito a little bit more strength to not have to rely on landing those 2 shots to get a chill. If they do run away, pow, still got them. Let's go. We get that chill off. So that's what I think. In terms of reload speed, man's good. I don't think it needs to be adjusted. It's fine. In terms of his L1, it's a great ability. I don't think it needs to be adjusted. I think it's awesome and it's well designed. As far as his R1 ability, again, I think it's great. Very, very hard to use, ironically. You wouldn't think that it is, but it's very hard to use properly. And again, that makes it so that it has counterplay, right? If it's harder for the player to use it, then it has counterplay, especially because, again, just Agito just has counterplay in general. Now, when we're talking about his ultimate, I think it deserves a buff because I feel like the only way you can get a lot of use out of this thing is if you point blank use it. If I use it across the map, let's say right here, there's really no way it's gonna catch something. You really gotta just kind of be caught out by it. So I think there should be a way for an Agito player to pop his ult and still manage to snipe someone across the map if they are not paying attention. Maybe make it go a little bit faster. Maybe let it have some suction into the fish, just a little bit, maybe for like 2 seconds. You know, make it so that you're kind of hopping for 2 seconds, and if you don't get hit, then it lets you go. I don't know, something like that. But right now, it just kind of feels like, oh, you know what? Maybe make it so that it's faster, but if Agito shoots it in the wrong direction, it doesn't track. So give it like a homing thing that it has, but make it radial. So that way, is that even a word? Make it have a radius. So that way, if it gets close enough, it'll lock onto you. So it actually shoots faster, but you know, he can still miss it if it's nobody around. So he does have to time it better, but it still lets him snipe across the map if he manages to land a beautiful ultimate. Overall, I don't think Agito really needs any nerfs or buffs. Overall, I don't think Agito needs any nerfs. I think that he is pretty good. In terms of his damage fall off, like I said, I think it's necessary, but I don't think, or I don't want to say it's necessary. I think it's useful, and I think it's a very good quality of life change. It doesn't hurt him too much, but it also allows the opposite team to be able to actually manage to deal with the character. But I'm not tripping too much on it because it's not too insane. That's just kind of how assassin characters are generally. So if anything, give him a buff on his ultimate. Other than that, I think the character is pretty solid. Again, if we're talking about his damage fall off, it's literally just for quality of life. Next character we're going to talk about is Tonix. So Tonix's regular shot is going to shoot out 5 shots in a burst. If you charge and hold it, it shoots out a grenade that lands on the ground, pops up, and creates foam. Or it like knocks back. It's an explosion basically. You don't have to land it on the ground, but it's kind of best. You can still hit a player in the face with it. So if you manage to aim it properly, you can still hit him, and there you go. So pretty cut and dry, pretty simple. Now for Tonix, I think the foam buildup needs to be reduced on this because it's very easy to use and it stacks up a lot. If I manage to put 2 in the same spot, look how high it goes, right? That's 2 in the same spot. I think that's kind of hard to deal with, especially on some of the maps where you really need to try to get to Tonix, but you can't because you're dealing with all these mountains of foam that she didn't really have to try to work hard to do. So if anything, I say maybe reduce it by half. So that way, if you stack 2, you get to this. If you stack 4, then you get to that. That's what I think. Now, when we're talking about her her L1, I think that this is great. I don't really think it needs a buff or a nerf. I think it's great. I don't think the cooldown needs to be adjusted. It can be destroyed. The fact that it can be destroyed means it has counterplay, which means it's not really that bad and it's not that hard to deal with. Just like her R1. Again, it can be destroyed, it doesn't have a lot of counterplay, and if you let it explode, even if it doesn't hit you, it does a huge amount of foam along with like cluster grenades, basically, like cluster foam. So very cool, very unique, and it rewards Tonix for using it properly. No issue there. When you ult, it's not gonna work in this mode unless someone's standing here with me, but when you ult, it'll lock onto someone and drop a big blast of foam on them, covering the ground obviously, and then knocking the player up. Again, perfectly fine. You can destroy this, so there's no real reason to say, oh, it needs to be nerfed or adjusted or anything like that. You can destroy it. That's counterplay. The only thing with Tonix that I think needs to be adjusted is just the amount of foam that she has when she builds it up. Or just make it cost more. I don't think you should make it cost more though. Maybe make it cost a flat 4. But I don't think it should cost more. I just think the foam should just be reduced. That's all. That's all that I'm thinking. The rest of the stuff is perfectly fine. So for the most part though, that's not a make or break for me. I don't really think that Tonix needs to be outright nerfed. I think that'd be a very good quality of life thing. You know what? Ooh, that's hard. Okay, let's just say this. If it goes without change, it's not really gonna make or break the game. So in that regard, we're gonna keep Tonix at stay. She doesn't need to be nerfed or buffed, but I feel like if we can manage to adjust that foam stack, that would be very helpful, very good quality of life change, and it'd make it a lot easier for us to get to Tonix, especially very, very good Tonix players. The next character we have is Jet Justice. Now, I always get this face when I talk about Jet. All right, so Jet, the reason why I make such a funny face, I guess it's not really funny. Maybe I do make a funny face. The reason why I laugh is because Jet is really not good at anything, but that doesn't mean he deserves to be a buff, or that doesn't mean he deserves a buff, and that doesn't mean he deserves a nerf or anything like that. It's just funny every time I talk about him because he's kind of whack. But I love the character. So how Jet works is he has 3 types of shots. He has the shotgun shot that bursts out 3 pellets. He has the charge once, and it's like a small version of the ball rolling, and then he has a 2 charge, which it will make it so it's a bigger ball rolling. Okay, with this, I think that a couple of things might need to happen. So 1, his shots need to cost less. Jet has to reload a little bit too much in my opinion, and it doesn't really give him enough wiggle room. The other thing we could do is make it so his shotgun pellets do more damage. They don't really do a lot of damage. If you don't know, if you land 1 pellet on someone, it requires 8 shots. If you land 2 pellets on someone, it requires 4. If you land 3 pellets on someone, then it requires 3 shots to take out somebody. Now, maybe not increase the damage, but make it so it's a little closer, like a little close together. You see, even as it comes out of the gun, it's still pretty spread out, which means you can miss. Like, you're gonna have to be really accurate. Now, I do have a video out showing that you can empty his whole clip really quickly. In this case, he actually does a lot more damage than all the other characters in the game outright. You cannot duel a Jet Justice if they do this move. So let me see if I can pull it off. It's very inconsistent. It's very inconsistent. But if you manage to pull off the move, I can't do it that well. Maybe they patched it out. I haven't played since patch. Oh, no, they didn't. Okay, if you manage to do that, you don't have to be in the air. But if you manage to do that and empty his clip, it actually does a lot of damage. You will blow up somebody. But that being said, that move is very hard to do and it's very inconsistent. Now, if you guys ever played against me, you were probably on the opposite end of it and you've seen what it was like to get smacked by it, but you also seen me fail it a few times, which means I probably got chilled out. This is what makes it kind of hard to say, should we give him more liquid or not? Because if we give him more liquid and he can pull that off, that's an issue, right? But again, it's hard to do and not a lot of Jet Justice players, especially entry-level Jet Justice players, would be able to pull that off. So it's hard, it's hard. If anything, I think just squeezing the pellets in a little bit more would help Jet Justice. Maybe don't give him more liquid, but just make it so that the pellets are closer. This means that for me personally, that is doing this move, it doesn't affect me. Whether it's spread out more or not, I will blow you up, period. But for players that are new or players that are, even if they're experienced, but they don't know how to do it or they just don't like doing it, it gives them more room to actually be able to take targets out. Right now, Jet's very weak, and that is what needs to be changed. Let's talk about his Cosmic Dive. So his first ability, Cosmic Dive, I think it's wonderful. I just think it's buggy right now. When they fix the bug, it's fine. It's a great ability, it's cool. It doesn't need to be buffed or nerfed or adjusted. It's awesome. It works as intended, and there is counterplay to it. As far as his R1 goes, it's a bit strong. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's not nothing too crazy. The reason why I say it's strong is because it can remove an entire amount of foam by just throwing it at it. It's not really strong against the opponent, but it's strong against the foam that it sucks in. So it's really up to Jet to use it properly. If they don't use it properly, it's not really strong. If they do use it properly, you better watch out. But that's just kind of how the character is designed. Then as far as his ultimate goes, where he gets down and puts up a shield, I don't really see anything wrong with it. Honestly, there's counterplay, just walk in. You can also hit people from inside. If you just shoot like this, you can still hit people regardless. Like you don't have to be in there with them. and it doesn't block explosions. So if someone were to have a bomb blow up right here and it's Soa's ability, it will still reach anybody in here. So counterplay as well. So the only thing that I would say about Justice would be to make the pellets closer or give him more liquid. Other than that, his whole entire kit is great, and I don't think that he has any issues. It's just, you can't fight anybody. It's too slow. It comes out too slow, and you don't do enough damage. So that's what I think needs to happen with Jet. So let me go ahead and move him to buff. The next character on our list is Mel T. Ooh, Mel T, Mel T, Mel T. Okay, so with Mel T, it's kind of hard. Mel T's auto attack is a homing missile, right? If you are targeted, it will home onto you. There's ways to dodge it, but it's not very intuitive. You are gonna have to learn how to play against a Mel T in order to get around it, which means that she's very strong in that regard. If we're gonna give her homing, it should be pretty obvious how to not get hit. You could say, well, you could just kind of jump around in a circle, or well, you could just kind of juke it, or well, you can get behind something. But that, again, is not very intuitive, and even so, she's still very strong if the Mel T knows how to play properly. I think the best thing for this would maybe... that's rough, dude. It's like, it's not broken, but it's not balanced at the same time. Maybe have it track you for a little bit, and then once it gets to about a few seconds, it has fall off. That way you can outrun it. Maybe that would be a little bit, maybe that'd be a little better. But I honestly don't know how they would nerf that, but it does need some adjustments. Maybe, I don't know. It just does need adjustments. It's a little strong. It's a little strong. Maybe make it so that they have to lock on once, and the more you shoot it, the more it homes. I think that's actually how it works right now in the first place. And the initial first home is a little too strong, so maybe nerf it. But I think if you do continuously shoot the same target over and over without reloading, it does track faster, and it is a little bit more accurate. Don't quote me on that though, but that's just how it feels right now. So if that is how it's set up square, I think you should just reduce the number of the first one and then the subsequent one, so that way it's a little bit more counterplay on that first shot, so you're not getting pelted by Mel T on just the first lock on every single time, because it's very hard to deal with, especially if you don't know what to do. The L1 I think is great. Don't think it needs to be buffed, nerfed, or adjusted. It's awesome and it works as intended. I think the R1 again just doesn't need to be buffed, nerfed, or adjusted. Works as intended. It's great. I think it's awesome as an artillery character. For her ultimate, now for her ultimate, this needs to be adjusted, but not in a sense of buff or nerf. I think if we're gonna adjust this, we need to make it so that Mel T can actually see the laser. Because a lot of the times you don't know where you're aiming. Maybe when you play thousands and thousands of Mel T games, it's not gonna be much of an issue for you. But I honestly think a player that's new to Mel T, or a player that just doesn't have bajillions of games on her, it's hard to see that laser on startup. So giving it more of a pronounced feel or a shape or a color or whatever would make it a lot easier for players to aim that ability. That's all I think. I don't think she needs to be invincible while shooting it or nothing. Just more clarity on where it's gonna go, and I think that would help. Even clarity on how far it's gonna go as well would help tremendously as well. So with Mel T right now, I think that she definitely could use the nerf to her missiles, but not having it isn't going to make or break the game. I just think it'd be a really cool quality of life for newer players, but yes, as you get more experience playing the game, it's not really that much of an issue. It's a problem, but it's not horrible. And so I think she should stay where she is. If we can give it a little bit more of a pullback just for the quality of life, make it so that it doesn't hurt Mel T, but also makes it so that it's a little bit more bearable for players that don't even know how to deal with it, would be great. Next character up is the Baristador. So the Baristador is a hose character. There's only 2 in the game right now. Pretty much you just hold the button and it's like a fire hose. Nothing really crazy about it. I think the amount of liquid that he has is fine. I don't think this is problematic, and I think the reload speed is great. It's not problematic at all. In terms of his L1, again, not really problematic, works as intended. It's great. He has to use it properly. As far as his R1, not really problematic, works great, used as intended. Like, there's no issue with that at all. As far as his ultimate goes, again, great, use as intended. If he does it in a bad spot, he's gonna get clapped. If he doesn't, it's gonna be fine. It has enough time for you to run away. It shows you exactly the radius that you're gonna get hit. no real issue. Does enough damage to get them if they stay in, but does a minimal amount of damage so that way if you try to run away, you're not instantly exploded. So I think Barista is like one of the more balanced characters. However, now this isn't just to Barista. This isn't just to the Baristador. Isn't just to him. But when it comes to host characters, when we're talking about ranked, when we're talking about MVP, when we're talking about points, they don't have to do anything and they can get a lot of stars. You can play the Baristador or Rave Breaker and do this the entire game and you'll get good stars. When you win, you could possibly get 5 stars. This means you don't even have to interact with anybody and you can still get MVP. You can still climb the ladder pretty quickly and you'll be granted stars just for doing this. So this isn't a Baristador specific nerf, but that has to be adjusted. There's no way that characters should be able to do nothing and get rewarded for it. And I know you're gonna say, well, Poppin', that's not nothing. That's them filling up the ground so the team can fight. I understand that, but I've seen a lot of Rave Breakers, and I tested this, by the way, where you can go into a corner that nobody's occupying and just foam that thing up, man. You will foam that thing up, and I've tried this on my way to Party Legend, by the way, and I was able to get 3.5 stars by sitting in a corner doing this. What? That needs to be adjusted. You shouldn't get MVP because of that. You shouldn't get stars because of that. You literally can AFK and climb with the characters that are Baristador or Rave Breaker. So in terms of that aspect, in terms of point distribution, that needs to be rectified. But in terms of the actual kit itself of the character, I don't think it needs to be nerfed. But because it is a make or break, in my opinion, people that play Baristador or Rave Breaker are going to climb much faster simply because they can. Not saying they all do that, but I'm just saying you can technically do nothing and still get a lot of points just by foaming the ground. That needs to be adjusted. So we're going to put him at nerf. Now again, it's not to the kit, but that MVP, the point distribution needs to be adjusted. There's no way that a character doing nothing basically should be rewarded so many points. Maybe factor in a way so the system can gauge, oh, you're foaming up the area near your team. That is something that will contribute to your points. But if I literally can AFK in a superstar rank in a corner and just foam the ground and I have 3.5 stars when we take an L, nah, needs to be adjusted ASAP. The next character up is Rave Breaker. Now this is more of a closer range Baristador type of gameplay. Just like him, it's a host character. Pretty cut and dry. I think the reload speed is fine. I think the amount of liquid that he has is fine. What I do think needs to be adjusted is probably the width of the shot. So Rave Breakers can kind of whiff, but still hurt you, which means you don't have to be as accurate as the Baristador. Now, I do understand the Baristador shoots for a very long distance, which makes sense on why he needs to be a little bit more accurate than Rave Breaker. Rave Breaker's meant to be more close, but it's a little too strong and they should narrow it just a little bit. Nothing crazy, but just enough so that way if let's just say you're standing right here on this line, I'm trying to get it, right here on this line. Okay, maybe this one, there you go. Right here on this line, I shouldn't shoot here and still hurt you. That should not happen. So if we can narrow that down so where that they have to also aim, not as hard as Baristador, but you know, a little bit better, then I think that would help Rave Breaker, going against Rave Breaker, that would help a lot. As far as his L1 goes, a great ability. I don't really have anything to say about it. It's great. It works as intended. It's awesome. It has a high cooldown like it's supposed to. Awesome. As far as his mine goes, again, I think it's great. There's balance to it. You can shoot it. Maybe have it be a little bit more clear. That's hard to say because realistically, when you look at it right now, it's super clear. It's super obvious. If you just ran at it, you'd be like, oh, that's not normal. But in an actual match, you don't really have that much clarity and you're not gonna be able to tell. So that's a little hard, especially because players can just walk up and accidentally destroy it anyway because they're foaming the ground. I don't think it needs to be changed, but I don't know. That one's hard. That one's iffy. That one's very, very iffy. And as far as his ultimate goes, I think it's pretty okay. I think it's balanced. It would be unbalanced if he didn't suck up his own foam, but the fact that he sucks up his own foam is great. And you can even combine it with your mines. If you suck it up with your mines, it actually destroys them at the same time and it'll pop it up. So you can make for a combo like crazy if you manage to line it up and suck them into the mine at the same time. Same issue as Baristador. I can sit in the corner AFK and just do this all game and I get 3.5 stars for doing nothing. Point distribution needs to be adjusted. And I definitely think the hose radius for the shot needs to be kind of, the width needs to be narrowed a little bit more for a little bit more counterplay for the character, because there's a lot of characters that might not be able to duel a Rave Breaker for that simple fact. Now, the reason why I say that is because there's no break. There's no break in this. So to have a gun that technically has no break means that it's a lot easier for me to chill you, right? And so if my width is very wide, I don't even have to aim it properly and I still chill you. It needs to be adjusted so that way, even if I am holding it for a long time, I have to think twice and I'll probably let go to re-aim and relaunch it again, just to give more counterplay to the character. So as we stand with Rave Breaker right now, I definitely think he should be nerfed for the same reason as the Baristador. Should his hose width be smaller? Yes. Is it gonna make or break the game? Not really. But I do think it needs to be adjusted. But like I said, the point distribution needs to be adjusted. You should not be rewarded for AFKing in a corner. Have a system design that lets them know that, and I don't know how hard this is. I'm not a programmer or a developer. I know nothing. But I'm just saying, if it's possible, have it so that the system can detect when you are foaming around your team to help them versus when you are foaming in a corner and farming points. So that's just how I feel about that. Maybe you guys feel a different way about that, but I feel like it's kind of unfair. The next character we have is Penguin. Ooh, Penguin. Bane of my existence. All right, not as bad as Soa. Soa's horrible, but you know, Penguin is there. So with Penguin, her shot's pretty simple. It's an assault rifle. You hold it and it shoots a lot of ammo straight forward. The thing about this is that this is more balanced than Soa's because Penguin literally has to aim. It's not bouncing left and right, which means I can just point in the direction. Penguin really does have to aim. My issue with Penguin is the fact that it comes out too fast. And I think she also has 30 shots like Soa. I could be wrong on that one. I think it's 30, could be less, but I'm not sure, but it's a lot. I think maybe make it so that it takes her 9 shots instead of the original 7. I feel like that's a pretty big nerf though. So that's hard. Maybe just reduce the speed, just by a little, nothing too crazy. I don't know, but I do think something needs to be done because all it takes is for a very skilled player to know how to aim with this character and you lose. 100% of the time. You are not gonna beat a Penguin that knows how to aim. For players that don't know how to aim, or players that have a hard time aiming, or for players that are aiming decently, Penguin is counterplayable. You don't really get hit that often, as long as you move properly. But if you're against a player that knows how to aim, Penguin is a menace, and it's very hard to deal with there. So I don't know a way that we can nerf this in a way so that really high ranked players or really solid Penguin players aren't gonna feel affected by this nerf, but make it so, I mean, they will be affected, I'm sorry. I don't know how we can make it so that the really good Penguin players will be affected, but also making it so that the players that are new or the players that are just into her or experienced but not so accurate with their shots, that it doesn't hurt them, because that's what we don't want, right? If it's already hard for them to land all their shots, why would we make it worse? I don't know how we would adjust this. I think possibly just adding an extra shot, maybe even 8. She only needs 7, but maybe make it 8. Maybe go from there. I don't know. But I definitely think it needs to be adjusted in some format, or even reduce the amount of liquid. Maybe instead of giving her like 30 shots, I think it's 30, give her like 20. That's fine. Give her 20 and make her reload faster. Maybe. That would help. The reason why Soa's is not that bad in terms of it, because you know she does the same thing, is that you can kind of juke out of Soa's bubbles. You can't really juke out of this one, as long if they're accurate. Like Soa's is just inaccurate intentionally, but this one is literally linear. Can't even say it. It's linear, and so the aiming is what's going to cause it to be very effective. Again, I don't know. That one's kind of hard. I don't really know what to say about that. As far as our L1, I think it's great. I think it's fine. As far as our R1 goes, maybe make it have 1 stock but refill faster. That's rough though. No, honestly, that's really rough. That's rough. The reason why I say this is because it is pretty impactful when she stun locks you, but it does have to be a very good Penguin. And that's the issue with Penguin right now, and that's the problem with her design. Her design is so good, it's so straightforward, that really it rewards how good you are as a player. And so if someone is really good, it makes a broken character. If someone is bad, it makes a very weak character. You know what I'm trying to say? And so those are, I think, the characters that are hardest to balance in any game, because how do you balance for skill? One thing to balance numbers, but to balance for skill is a little rough. But I do think that Penguin needs to be adjusted in some way and nerfed in that regard. I don't think keeping her here is gonna make or break the game. Honestly, if we don't touch Penguin, it's not gonna make or break the game for the simple reason of, like I said, it takes skill to play the character. You're not gonna just, oh, I picked Penguin and I'm broken and I'm gonna get all these. She is broken if you know how to play the game. She is broken if you know how to aim. That is the real issue. And so honestly, having her stay the same isn't gonna make or break the game, because majority of the players most likely won't be able to put her to full effectiveness. However, when you were playing with players that are good, like really good, this is really hard to deal with. So I don't know. It's hard to say that you should nerf something because people are just good at it. I don't think that should be a thing, but I just think it should be looked into. So this is the final list that we have. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it was a long one, but again, there are timestamps down below. I do appreciate you guys watching. Be sure you subscribe, that way you are notified for the patch notes that do drop. I will be going over them, and I wonder what they're gonna do to these characters. I really wanna see what they do to Soa, because right now, I'm telling you, she is anti-fun to go against. Until next time, you know what I always say. Thank you guys for doing what? Popping often. We'll often.